Hey there, good Monday gang. It is good to see you. Unfortunately, we are talking the tropics because Melissa is likely to form soon. We can now see in the National Hurricane Center's Outlook map a cherry, a red zone, basically saying we're likely to get tropical formation. But keep in mind, this tells you where it might form, not necessarily where it may go. And for that, I'm more inclined to buy the Google DeepMind model's AI output, which essentially simulates the storm gradually strengthening, then like Wednesday, turning north, more quickly strengthening, and impacting Hispaniola into Thursday as a hurricane. That's most likely at this point. However, there's a 1 in 3 chance the storm stays weaker in the short to medium range, continues farther westwards, and eventually reaches the western Caribbean, and then strengthens late Friday and eventually Saturday. So we'll say the northward turn into Hispaniola is the more likely scenario right now, but we can't rule out those other 1 or 2 possibilities of a farther west track. Now, if the northern scenario into Hispaniola is realized, we could see potentially crippling rains there. Haiti, the Dominican Republic, mudslides would be likely, serious flooding, couple feet of rain. That'd be a bad scenario. Lots to discuss, so let's break it all down, starting off with where this system is. It's obviously the eastern Caribbean. You see a lot of thunderstorm activity, convection on the infrared satellite. And if we flip to visible, we can see there's pretty good spin too. Notice the high, thin, wispy clouds on the northern side of the circulation. That's outflow or exhaust at the upper level. So basically, it's taking air in the bottom and exhaling air at the top. It's breathing, it is organizing. Now, there's one limiting factor right now, and I think that's the system being a little lopsided. If we take a look, I think this is where the center of circulation is forming down at the surface, but we notice that's towards like the western side of all the convection, the thunderstorms. So the whole thing is sort of unbalanced. That's because of shear, disruptive changing winds with height that are basically blowing the heavier thunderstorms off the east of the center, keeping this whole thing off kilter. So that lends uncertainty to how quickly the storm will form, and the rate of strengthening determines where the storm will go. There's a chance the storm forms more quickly, meaning it will be a stronger storm by like late Tuesday into Wednesday. And if that's the case, it might have more force, more oomph to sort of push into our magic force field of high pressure to the north. And if that's the case, then yeah, it can kind of ram its way up towards Hispaniola. And then obviously a stronger storm, which is taller, would also reach up and kind of feel the upper level winds, which are out of the south, which would push the storm to the north. Think about a sailboat. You know, if there are no sails, it's not going to blow really anywhere. But if you hoist those sails, it catches the wind and it goes with the wind. Same thing here with our storm. If that scenario can happen, we'll likely wind up with a hurricane late Wednesday or Thursday making landfall in southern Hispaniola. At the coastline, we'd say winds of 70 to 90 miles per hour where that center comes ashore, but my bigger concern, obviously, the heavy rainfall. In this scenario, we'd be talking either side of 2 feet in the higher elevations. And let's be very blunt here, Haiti in particular has had rampant deforestation, meaning there's not really much to hold those slopes in place, especially if they get muddy and saturated, so we would be talking a serious mudslide, landslide, flooding risk there. That same scenario could also introduce heavy rains to southern Puerto Rico. Even though the storm would pass probably to the west, maybe as far east as the Mona Passage, you'd still get southerly flow, and that fetch would pull moisture ashore, leading to up to 10, 12 inches of rain in southern portions of Puerto Rico. Now, there is another possibility. It could stay on the weaker side, and if it stays weaker, it can't ram north into the high pressure, so it just kind of trucks westwards a little more. And then late this week it says, wait a second, I'm over water temperatures of 86 to 89 degrees. And remember, those high-end Caribbean water temperatures mean plentiful oceanic heat content, high-octane fuel to get this thing intensifying perhaps quickly. And we could wind up with a stronger hurricane in the Western Gulf. For now, we'll say both scenarios are on the table. I still think the Hispaniola scenario is more likely, but both are options. So everybody in the yellow, let's stay aware. If you're in the orange, i.e. Hispaniola, I think it's safe to start preparing for the potential of an impactful flood or mudslide event. Of course, a lot can change, a lot may change. We're here nonstop around the clock giving you updates. Keep it tuned to MyRadar on all social media platforms and right here in the free MyRadar app.
Follow MyRadar on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Download MyRadar on iOS, Android, Amazon Alexa, and Windows.